In getting around the country as much as I have lately, I believe the people of this country are counting on us to cut spending and reduce the deficit. We've all made concessions during this budget process, as Dave said. You know, the other day I was interested to read something that was spoken in 1976 when Senator Hugh Scott was delivering his farewell to Congress and leaving government. And the bulk of his speech had to do with things that he had once believed but had come to understand, or at least in his view, he disagreed with his previous beliefs. And he concluded his speech with this line: "Beware of governments that soar into the infinite and dive into the unfathomable, but never pay cash." Well, I hope that the House and the Senate can resolve the differences as soon as possible. I want to thank Dan Rostenkowski, Bob Packwood for their commitment to pass the tax reform legislation this year. It's going to take a lot of work by all of us, but we should work together to get it passed and get it passed this year. And I'd like to call on Jim Baker for some comments and then ask him to take your questions.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. It was 1 month ago this week that you launched tax reform, and I'd have to say that we're very pleased with the response so far, and particularly with the bipartisan nature of the response. As you said, when you launched the proposal, tax reform is not something that's going to pass unless there is bipartisan support. Obviously, we were encouraged by the response to the chairman of the House Ways and Means Committee's speech following your speech. We were likewise encouraged by Senator Packwood's commitment to expedite the process. Further encouraged when the Speaker testified before the Ways and Means Committee and in effect said that he would hope that the House could act so that the Senate would have a bill by Thanksgiving, and we hope that he still feels that way. The best way, I think, Mr. President, to beat tax reform is to delay it. And for this reason, we're extremely pleased that the leadership has committed to move tax reform and to move it this year. I guess the only other point I would make, since the process is just beginning, is that we've been at it long enough to the point, I think, that we could say that the bottom line is that we've got here something that's never been accomplished before in this country, and that's an overall, complete overhaul of the tax system. We got a 461-page proposal, and yes, there have been some shots taken at it, and yes, there are areas in which people have differences and criticisms and disagreements. But basically, the overall structure of the proposal, we think, when you consider what we're undertaking, is standing up pretty darn well through the legislative process so far. We're in the 4th week of hearings in the House, and we're in the 3rd week of hearings before the Senate Finance Committee. So we think so far there's really been no compelling criticism of the overall structure of the tax proposal. That's not to say that there won't be changes as we move along the line. That's where I think we are. I'd be delighted to try and answer questions. Yes, sir, Bill.
Jim, as chairman of the House Budget Committee, I have a concern about the testimony that you gave, I think, before Chairman Rostenkowski about the loss of revenues over a several-year period. I believe you testified that there would be a loss of $11 to $12 billion. Has there been any rethinking, particularly since I see in the newspaper there's some possibilities of rethinking on the part of Treasury about the tax bill, the reform package, because I certainly am a strong supporter of tax reform. I'm joining the leadership of the House on that issue, but I'm deeply concerned about a tax reform package that will increase the deficit that we're already facing.
Bill, as far as the rethinking article that you're referring to, we are in the process now. As matters come up before the committees, we take each of those criticisms and we analyze them where we think there might be some merit. Quite frankly, we think that there may well be some merit with respect to the criticism that some two-earner families in the middle income group are going to be adversely affected. as a result of our changing the child care credit to a child care deduction, the way that interrelates with the new rate structure is liable to adversely impact, we think it might adversely impact some middle income families. And so we're studying that, and we may have some suggestions to offer to the chairman of Ways and Means and the chairman of the Senate Finance Committee if we conclude that that is in fact the case. We don't think that the problem, right now, we don't think that problem goes beyond that. The numbers that we have submitted, that we submitted during my testimony and that the President made public when he announced the proposal, to the effect generally that people in the under $20,000 class get an 18.3% tax reduction. Those numbers are valid. People between $20,000 and $50,000 get a 7.2% tax reduction. Those numbers are valid. People over 50 get a 5.8% tax reduction. Those numbers are valid. There will be some two-earner families in that middle income group who might be adversely affected. Now, with respect to your question about revenue neutrality, what I have said is that we would anticipate that the proposal would lose $11 billion over a 5-year period. We gain $1.2 billion, we think, in the first year. We lose about $1.2 billion in the last year, and it moves around in between them. We say that's revenue neutral, Bill, because you have to compare that against receipts during that 5-year period of $4.7 trillion. So you're within 0.24% of revenue neutrality, and that's about as close as you can get on estimate.
Did you say up to 1% would be revenue neutral?
That's the standard that's generally been used, as I understand it, at Treasury, Bob. 1% either way is revenue neutrality, just because you can't get much closer than that on an estimating basis.
Jim, our committee is still scrubbing those numbers, and I'm hoping that if we come up with any more losses, that there'll be a cooperative effort on the part of the Treasury. You've testified before my committee, and I just hope that companionship will continue to remain.
The President said as long ago as the State of the Union that he wants tax reform to be revenue neutral. He doesn't want it to be a tax increase in disguise, but he doesn't want it to exacerbate the deficit.
Thanks, Jim. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we've come to the end of our lunch here, and I'd just like to say one thing. I know that you are all leaving this weekend for a brief 4th of July holiday. I'll be left rattling around here in public housing myself, having changed my vacation plan for obvious reasons. I just want you to know that if you'd like to leave things in my hands, I'd be very happy to come to a solution and reach you with it when you come back. It's a fait accompli. So, well, thank you all for coming here today. It's a pleasure to be with you. If anyone have any last questions or anything to aim at the three that have appeared before you or anyone else, fire away, and otherwise, I guess we're going back to work.
We just say thank you, Mr. President, for inviting us.
Appreciate it. Take your match,
See if I can ride with Bob Dole if you take me. I'll not ride with him.
All right.
I have to tell him something. I'll try to take care of your